Presented by That Time I Got Reincarnated in the same world as an anime podcaster, this is Shonen Jumping the Gun, the show where we set our sights on the first chapter of a manga and decide if it's a misfire or a bullseye.
Let's see how many rounds are in this magazine.
On today's episode, is that your heartbeat? No, it's Dandadan. Welcome, everybody. I'm your podcast poltergeist, Kermit the Grog, here with my UAP unidentified anime podcaster. What was your name again?
It's I, Isekai Sensei-Sama.
Brad, how you doing?
Well, after reading this, I'm all right.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I'm curious. I've been dying to talk about this with you all day. If you didn't get it from the intro, we are covering Dandadan. This is a special episode, though I've been wanting to cover it for a long time because I've read a good chunk of this, because it is about to drop. The anime, which has been widely talked about all year, is about to drop literally into American theaters, I believe day and date with Japan almost, right? I think.
Maybe.
A simul release practically. So we are going to a movie theater to see that, which I'm sure we will make a little video about.
So we're simul releasing this.
We're simul releasing this. If you listen to this the day we put it out, it will be the day before it hits theaters.
Yeah. I hope everybody appreciates the double feature today.
Yeah.
I had to work extra hard to get this out on time. New Shonen Jump and
Dandadan
anime
big
movie
drop.
Yeah.
It helps that we already wanted to cover this. Well, I wanted to. You haven't read it until now. So this was a bit of serendipitous and not just clout chasing. It's just a little clout chasing.
You find it interesting that I read so much stuff, and then now we're doing this podcast where I haven't read anything. I have to read the first chapter of it. That's weird.
It's weird? You just didn't read this stuff because it was on Manga Plus. Speaking of which, the informational bit, Dandadan started April 6, 2021 as a Jump Plus manga, which it remains. There are currently 165 chapters at time of recording, and we've already talked about the whole prestigious anime dropping in American theaters. It's a big thing, and I think it's deserved. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start with my patented Kermit speedrun summary, my turbo summary, if we want to use some verbiage. Though, admittedly, this one's not going to be very speedrunny because it's a big one. It's one of the biggest ones I've ever written.
I'm gonna go get a drink. You do that. I'll be back.
That sounds good. Creepy eyes and scary abandoned places beckon us into the first pages of this manga. Fear, squirm, shuddering at the unknown. Splash page! A cheap teen boy extorts our femme protagonist date for money or sex or both. She denies him with a roundhouse kick, which is dodged before catching one herself. They break up as she hurls fishy insults at him. Cut to later, and femme protag is complaining to her gal pals. I'm in my gal pals era, I've noticed. Everything I write when we're to school, it's there's a bunch of girls, gal pals. If they're men, I don't know what to do. It's shorter than saying female friends. Her gal pals about this.
You could just not gender them at all.
But they were always girls. It's specific. If they were, I don't think I said gal pals when we covered. Shoot, you haven't heard that yet, listeners. We covered, what is it? Not you and I. You and I are polar opposites. That was a mixed friend group, but I don't think I called them gal pals. But you guys haven't heard that yet. You won't hear that for a month. Stay tuned. This is the secret tip of the spear for the romance arc that's coming. But we're recording this after the romance arc was recorded. I'm getting back on track. I'm getting distracted. She's complaining to her gal pals about this guy, which the gal pals correctly tell her she shouldn't have been with. Femme Potag counters he looked like Ken Takakura, who I'm assuming is some sort of celebrity actor of some sort, but I didn't Google it, but I mean, could be made up, I don't know. She likes hard-boiled dudes like that. She then sees boys picking on a spectacled boy reading something, and she stands up to them before leaving without talking to Glasses Boy.
She actually sits down to them.
That is very correct. She sits down in front of him as a don't mess with him. It's a pretty dope scene. Glasses Boy catches up, and we learn Femprotag's name is Momo Ayase. He knows what Momo is into. Momo denies them being friends. And Glasses-kun shares the paranormal conspiracy theory magazine he was reading with her. Not UFOs, UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomena, which is, I guess, legit. As much as any of that talk is legit, I think that's the new legit way
They changed it to that.
They changed it.
Everybody would
Dinosaurs
go,
have
UFO,
feathers,
UFO.
Pluto's not a planet, and now it's UAFs.
Because people were saying UFO to mean aliens, but that's not what it means. And so they had to change it to UAP. But now people are saying UAP as if it's aliens because people ruin everything.
Unidentified alien phenomena, which necessarily women wouldn't be flying anymore. He goes on for a while, but Momo doesn't buy. Oh, I want to say during this, you get a picture that President Obama had already been to the moon, but I don't think he was the president at the time this was written.
2021, so no.
Yeah, no. I just thought it was funny. He goes on for a while, but Momo doesn't buy it and says it's stupid and they are still not friends. Also, while she doesn't believe in aliens, she does believe in spirits because her grandmother is a spirit medium. Glasses-kun laughs off spirits as stupid, and the two start bickering before it culminates into a challenge. Cut to later, and Momo is outside a scary-looking abandoned hospital we saw before, talking to, well, he's gone from Glasses-kun to Occult-kun, and that this is a hotspot for UFOs and related memory-erasing abductions. While this is happening, Occult-kun is headed to the abandoned highway tunnel, which he is told is a hotspot for ghosts. Important note, neither party has seen the things they sent to other to go find, and both are very scared about their predicament. Momo describes not having parents and her spirit medium grandmother having her do this ritual when she was a kid that she found embarrassing and stopped doing it because of kids bullying her about it. More than anything, she was pissed the other kids made fun of her grandma, who loved her dearly, and that's why she believes in spirits. Momo asks Occult-kun why he believes in aliens, but he plays it off before saying it's easy to talk to her. It's a sweet moment. This directly before he finds a terrifying-looking old woman who says, and I quote, I'll let you suckle my teats if you let me gobble your schlong. And that, dear readers, is the beginning of my testimony of why I think Dandadan was not on the Jump phone app until very recently. Because it wasn't. It was one of the ones you had to read on the website. Until mysteriously recently that stopped being true. Momo urges him to not run, but he does so out of fear. If she overtakes him in the race, Turbo Granny will put a curse on him. They're naming, not mine. It's great, though. The phone cuts out with a scream, and we're back to Momo in the hospital. And there's some creepy-looking man-shaped things smiling in front of her. She runs, and they make chase, grabbing and stripping her in the process. They're aliens. Serpoians, to be exact. I don't know if the name was really important. They're supposedly friendly. Their species have only males, so they replicate through cloning, but to evolve they need to, and I quote, have your kind's banana organs, before one of them has a mechanical penis burst forth from their pants crotch, and saying they will now perform the sex act. This is evidence piece number 2. An uncomfortable attempted rape scene takes place as they attempt to mind control her, but she resists until her phone rings. It's Occult-kun.
People, if you haven't read this yet, it's not great. This scene is very uncomfortable.
It's very uncomfortable. I have a point about it. I don't know if it's as bad as I'm describing it. I'm trying to, this summer is very long and I had to kind of float over a lot of detail. This is uncomfortable. We'll get back to it. I have things on it. It is still uncomfortable. That is not what I'm trying to argue against. Until their phone rings. It's Occult-kun. When one of the aliens answers, a creature like Turbo Granny comes through the phone and attacks them, specifically gobbling the alien schlong. A fight ensues, and we learn that this is Occult-kun post-cursing, and he's kind of out of control. More fighting as the aliens show their real, cool, but weird-looking actual forms. Occult-kun gets his shit rocked, and in an emotional moment he says he was interested in aliens because he had no friends and thought they would show up and be his friend, but they never came. No one would acknowledge that he existed until Momo stood up for him. Occult-kun is beaten, but in this moment, Momo focuses in and awakens to her psychic energy from her grandmother. She escapes her bindings and kicks one of the aliens through the side of the UFO. Then, cursed Occult-kun attacks her and gets a blast of psychic energy. His body is free, but the curse remains. Turbo Granny says he has taken his schlong, their words, not mine, and must come to the tunnel to get it back. The two escape, and now each one believes in aliens and spirits. But what next? Occult-kun offers his clothes to a mostly naked Momo, and that he alone must go to the tunnel to not trouble her anymore. But during this, he says a quote that Ken Takakura said that we learned earlier, and Momo's heart starts racing. Momo finally asks his name, and we learn it's Ken Takakura. Is this the one? Has Momo found her hard-boiled man? Find out next chapter on Dandadan.
I did laugh out loud at that ending bit.
It's such a wonderful little like thing, and it should have been stupid. It is stupid, but it's lovely. I think I've already said this. I read a bunch of this ages ago, probably years now, back before I was reading primarily on tablet and then couldn't read it. And now I lifted the seal because I'm reading Golden Kamuy on my tablet by going through the browser. And between that, it being on the app, and the movie coming up, this was a really good means of getting me back into it. The moment I finish Golden Kamuy, I'm going to be reading and catching up on Dandadan because I love this manga a lot. I think it's really fun and quirky and interesting. Brad?
Well, so I did like it.
Okay,
we'll say that.
I was getting ready for high noon in the other direction, which has never happened.
No, there's nothing that I would say in here that I'm like, oh, this is bad. I liked basically everything about it. I do think we should probably get the uncomfortable stuff out of the way, and then we can talk about all the cool stuff that it's doing.
Yep.
So when she gets abducted by aliens, like, they rip her clothes off.
And a very uncomfortable thing as they're chasing her, her clothes are like ripped off over like 2 pages of panels.
And then there's just like a full page spread of her locked onto this bed in just her underwear. And like, I mean, it's just short of not graphic, right? Or just short of graphic. Like,
it's uncomfortable, but yeah, I don't think it is still, I mean, I guess it's not in the magazine proper, it's Jump Plus.
Yeah.
But it's a lot, but I don't think it is ever like truly like visually. Yeah, like what you're getting at. I'm not getting at it well either.
I don't know if this was like a conscious choice or anything, but like, she's not wearing normal underwear. She's wearing like sexy underwear, and it's just, I don't know. I feel like I'm somehow becoming more sensitive to this.
I know, it's weird. We've had this weird, like, the episodes we recorded in recently, we've had a weird body swap or position swap on things.
I think it's because I have to talk about it all the time. Because, like, when I read it, it's like, yep, there it is.
You have to actually have to look at it?
Well, it's not that
or not look
I have to think
it,
about it.
Like, you have to,
Yeah, I have to have an opinion on it.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, before, it would just be like, and especially like in all the isekai that I read that we never talk about.
Correct.
It's like, that stuff happens all the time, and I just don't think about it. But then,
talking about it means you have to think about it, which means you have to process it. So, yeah.
And it's not like those are doing it better. In fact, most of them do it worse than this. It's just, I guess there's levels of popularity where I'm like, oh, this thing's really popular, and it's doing this thing, which is sort of iffy.
Yes. I don't know how much of, like, I think still, like, watching the panels of her getting stripped down, I think, are uncomfortable. And I think they're written to be that. I think the shot of, like, the full body page shot you get of her in her underwear then in the machine is, like, a bit gratuitous.
Gratuitous was the word I was thinking.
I don't know how much of me being less shocked by it is because, like, I read this ages ago, so, like, I kind of knew this was already here, but I still think it is. I think her getting chased is like a very like visceral, like, I think that does its job without being like pandery as much as that shot is. I feel like that shot is like the boo-boo kiss of like, I showed you something really upsetting because it's like genuinely really uncomfortable because she looks like she's really having a really bad time as just these hands are gripping at her, and then you get that one.
I guess that's part of the issue I have with it, is that it's like, they set this up with humor and horror, right?
Yes.
You've got that before this happens, and even after it happens, like, it's humor and horror.
Yep.
And then there's just this, it's not out of nowhere. It's not, it is part of the story. It's just, I feel like it could have been presented differently to not be so gratuitous.
I think, I need Ben for this, admittedly. I think that specifically, I mean, like, I don't know, because, like, we've seen Cheesecake and other, I mean, again, this is not in the magazine proper. This feels very schlocky, fun horror movie.
Yeah,
like, this is 100% a thing that would happen, and this feels very, parts of this feel very inspired by
I think the difference
Horror
there
movies.
is that in the horror movies, even though they're like, these are teenagers, they're obviously like 28 years old.
Yeah, now that instead of teenagers, they're ink on a page, which we've talked about before.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is weird. Yeah, I think you're having an arc, Brad. This romance arc has awakened something in you, and I'm poking at you, but it's probably for the better that you're thinking more fully about it. Maybe I should get on that train at some point.
Maybe reading Sweat and Soap, maybe, which you'll have to get to.
But someday it'll be out. We did it.
I think maybe that flipped something in my brain where I just sort of went, it doesn't have to be children. We don't have to be looking at teenagers.
We read some Seinen. We read a couple Seinen and we're like, wait a minute.
We can have adults and be sexy, right?
Yeah.
And it's almost just like, do we really need this?
If it makes you feel better, there's a sexy adult that's coming in the series, which I appreciate. I don't know. I don't know how much of it is that I can be more lax on it, that like I had read more of that and it's not always a constant, that I had already been shocked by it and kind of gotten over it.
Yeah.
And like, I'm going to out myself again as I've done with some of these. It is aesthetically pleasing to look at when I don't think about it too hard.
And that's, I mean, the thing that I want everybody to understand, and especially as we get into the romance arc, is that like my issue from this is purely from like a psychological moral perspective of sexualizing teenagers. I find it attractive. Like,
it's so interesting that you used to be able to float over those things, and I used to be the one that pitched a fit about it, and we've seemingly swapped positions, which I find very fascinating.
I mean, I am still floating over it because I'm in just like 2 minutes. I'm going to go. Let's move on from this.
Oh yeah, but you're weighed down more than you used to be, and I don't know what that means yet.
I don't know. Maybe
it's not a bad thing.
Maybe my son's getting older, and so I'm thinking
what
about
if he
these
was
things.
stripped and chained?
Well,
oh God, that was awful. I'm sorry. That's
not that.
Yeah,
but
no. Sorry.
And
I get what you mean. Maybe dad brain's kicking in, which is not a bad thing to have.
I also think I probably wouldn't have thought about it as much, except she spends the rest of the chapter. She does spend the rest of the chapter like that,
not wearing clothes.
Except for like the last page where he gives her
where it's specific that he specifically strips himself down to give her clothes.
Yeah.
Which I think is a nice moment.
But let's move on from that.
Let's get back to the other thing.
Because I would say overall, I think this was a lot of fun. There's interesting concepts going on
There's
here.
There's wild art. It reminds me
art
a
style
little bit of the Chainsaw Man art, where you get these like highly detailed like horror drawings. Like I love the design on the spooky spirit in the tunnel. Yeah. Like the spooky places are good. I love the aliens the design they get before they show their true form is like just weird and upsetting in a way I've never really seen in a manga.
That's definitely the creepiest thing in
And then the giant robo penis, when I was just like, holy shit, you guys got away with this? And just the weird, whoever was localizing it of like and like maybe it's that funky in the original Japanese, but of like gobble your schlong and your banana organs, like.
I have to imagine that was a conscious decision from the translators.
Yeah, but was it already like a weird, were they already using like slang, or like a weird thing in the original Japanese, or like, I don't know, it has such the Dandadan has such a vibe and an energy
she
that
probably
I find
said,
very.
Oh, chin chin.
What's that?
Penis.
Oh, okay.
Except it's the not proper way to say it.
Okay, maybe, I don't know. I'd be curious to know. I'll look up who the localizers and reach out and go, hey, what was your deal? How did you come up with gobble your schlong? What was your thought process? I'd be curious to know that.
If only we knew multiple people who know Japanese that could tell us.
Yeah, well, no, but I want the localizer who did it to see what their thought process was.
No, knowing what the original Japanese said would get us pretty far.
True. But yeah, I like the series. I can't play our normal things because I know things that happen later. So, Brad, what's something you want to see more of?
Honestly, this is one of those ones where I would liken this to like a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure kind of thing, where I'm just like, I don't know what you're going to do.
I'm here for the ride.
I mean, they didn't set up like an overarching villain or anything. They're just like, hey, something bad happened to him. He's cursed. Do something about that. That's it.
Big hook, little hook.
Yeah.
Big hook romance. Little hook, he's cursed.
They didn't even, I mean, they definitely set up the romance.
Don't you tell me they didn't bait the hook for romance when you start the chapter with going, I like guys like this, and at the end she finally figures out he's the guy like them, actually.
Yeah.
And I love that.
And
but
I
also
guess
you have to figure it out.
There's something to be said there because we don't really get any kind of like feelings from him.
Not yet.
He's all in on the conspiracy stuff.
We follow Momo more the first chapter. I don't remember if the thing changes. I mean, vague spoiler that because I've literally talked about this on the podcast multiple times. Like, Dandadan is. I mean, I don't know if it will still be when I reread it, but like, is one of my favorite romances I've read just because it's so fun and weird. And I think it is helped by again talking about things we learned at the end of the romance arc, but you're hearing us like it's the beginning. So you haven't read them yet. This is not helpful. But because it has other things it can be doing, because it is not a slice of life, it is genuinely a romance comedy horror, and I think it does all of those things really well. I don't think any of those are half-placed genre tags. I think when it is funny, it's really funny. When it's scary or upsetting, it's really scary and upsetting. And when they want to do romance, they're doing it. And I like that they can do all three of those with both feet in. I think that's cool.
And you touched on this a little bit, but I really like the visual style in this.
It's got such a look.
I don't generally tend to care much about the art, which if you've listened to us for a while, you know. But when it's good, I can definitely tell. And this is really good. There's a lot of attention to detail, like a lot of attention to detail. And it's got a style of its own. It's like adjacent to a normal manga style.
I was going to say it's adjacent to Chainsaw Man.
See, Chainsaw Man is more sketchy.
Yes, but I think it was in like the big stuff. But when you get the big, like, I'm trying to think of another manga I've read recently where it's like you get the page turn and you see this weird creature and I have like a moment of like, oh. Because sometimes you get, literally earlier this week you guys heard our episode on Ichi the Witch where it's like there's a big creature.
Earlier this week, hopefully right before you listen to this episode.
There's like a big creature and its design is just nothing. It is such a nothing design. There's nothing interesting or compelling about it. But here it's like when you see the spirit and the way that they reveal on a page turn of the cursed granny and the thing or the weird aliens or when they take their actual form and they're these weird like geometric like striped angular weird looking bug things and it's like I love that. Like there's just so many cool, it's bursting forth with weird cool ideas, and if there's anything my brain loves, it's weird cool ideas.
But like the rest of, not the monster stuff obviously, and again that does sort of give me sort of a JoJo's vibe,
I can
but
see
like
that.
The normal everyday, like they're at school, they're just going through that. It's like you can see the normal manga style there, but it does just enough of its own kind of twist on it that it's different. And I like that because it's like you say, that workman quality, except this
isn't workman at all.
Right. It's elevated.
This is artisan.
Yeah.
If not even more so. This is almost, I would say, like, I don't know what's above artisan. Like genius? Savant?
I wouldn't go that far.
I would.
But it's pretty close.
It has such a vibe. Like it has such an energy and a vibe, and everything looks cool and reads clearly, and it's pumping forth with it. Yeah. I don't know what it would need to be. I don't know what manga I could see that I'd go, that's better, because more detail is not always better art direction.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't really point out something and be like, this is doing it better, but just the feeling that I get.
I can get that. I think I can take a guess what you want less of.
I don't know, man. Because, like, when I'm just sitting at home and reading it, I don't really care, you know?
Yeah, but we're trying to have a discussion here, so...
It's really only when I stop and think about it and it's time to talk about it that it's like... So, like, I can't really say, oh, I want less of that, because I don't really care, you know? Okay. It's not...
Where do you think it's going?
Again, like I said, I just have no idea.
It's so I love these moments where you get that, because usually you're the like, oh, this will happen in this, and you're right because you have such genre knowledge, but this one is too out there for any of your genre knowledge to kick in, and or it's genres that you don't mess with as much.
I mean, this has got the Mob Psycho thing.
Where
I would be like, I mean, maybe there's some government organization that knows about this stuff that they're going to have to deal with because he's cursed now, and they're going to come after him. They're going to have to figure stuff. Like, there's a lot of different ways that it could go. But at the end of the day, just like Mob, it can just do whatever the hell it wants to do, and it can, because not even the sky's the limit. The edge of the universe is the limit at this point.
It moves, without really spoiling anything, like, it moves in such fun, weird, strange, you're not expecting it ways, but it all seemingly, like, it's a fun ride. It's like if, because I think I was reading it when we were watching Jujutsu Kaisen Season 1 and Mob Season 3, and it does feel a little Jujutsu Kaisen, it does feel a little Mob, like, had a weird baby in the 70s, and was very funky. I only say the 70s because it's very funky and vivacious, which I guess could be any era.
Yeah.
It's just, like, it is, I can call things that are similar to it, but I think it's just so unique. It's its own thing, and I think that's why it's getting this big release.
I mean, just from chapter 1, I can tell why it's getting an anime.
Yeah, and it only gets better as it has its pieces and keeps moving. Of this, I can assure you. So I know, like I said, I'm gonna be reading more of this in no time. I'm very excited. With that, let us get into, Brad, what are your feelings?
I'll say great. Yeah.
Okay. Don't sound too excited.
Well, I was trying to think, and it's like, I like pretty much all of this. I'm interested in reading more. I probably won't read more until we watch it. That's
probably not a bad idea. I would still, like, I know we're going to be watching the anime, but, like, I would genuinely recommend reading the manga. I think it's really good.
But then it's like, I wouldn't go so far as to be like, oh, this is amazing. So it's better than good, but I don't feel strongly enough about it to be amazing.
Okay. It's amazing. I feel like this is very fitting with the Ichi the Witch one, where each of us got a manga that had a specific thing that person liked, and it's like, oh yeah, this has all the things that I love, so I love it.
Yeah.
And it just, with whatever.
Except I also called that great. So.
Exactly. Oh, I mean, that's just your measurement system. But yeah, this just has that weird, novel, wonderfully strange energy that I love finding. Yeah. And I'm dying to go back and reread it. There's other things. The Golden Kamuy, I like start in the middle and keep going from there every time I come back to it to catch back up. But Dandadan, it's like, I'm cool to start from page 1 again, because it's just such a fun, weird, strange ride. And I'm excited to see if I still feel the same way about the relationship I did when I first read it.
Yeah.
Because, like, I got different feelings about that stuff now, but I got a good feeling about it. So, would you pay money to read more?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll pay money to see the movie.
I was going to say, we're going to pay theater. We're going to play non-matinee theater rates because it's only at night. One time, I believe, for the... Shoot, did I double check if it was subbed or dubbed? Because I'd rather see the sub.
You should probably check.
Even though I don't have a thing yet. I'm going to double check that. I'm pretty sure I did that the first time. Even though I'm sure side note, there's already a dub. It is getting even more simul-dub than usual, because the dub is dropping day and date with the sub, which is wild to me. Which essentially is like what they've done to Persona now, which is like cool when we get those, when they drop day and date full voice acting in both languages.
They definitely do that a lot more now, although
they do it a lot in video games.
Well, I mean, for a lot of the anime that we watch, you're getting simul dubs, like for a lot of them. But
no, but like
it's really only
we're still getting the anime, the episode itself, a little while after, even if it's only a few days after it drops in Japan.
Right? Yeah.
But like we're getting it, like it is dropping in Japan the same day we get it.
Right.
I mean, obviously with time zone weirdnesses, but whatever. That's not important to it. But I don't know. I just think I think it's cool. I don't think we've gotten that really with anime before. That's mostly a thing that like happens with video games, because I think like the newer Persona games get that, and like the newer Yakuza Like a Dragon games. I think those have been getting that too, but anime hasn't gotten that. And I don't think I'd want that for all anime, but for these big tentpole ones, I think that's really exciting, especially with this like theater release. Like I'm jazzed to go see this. I'm so curious to know what the turnout's going to be. And with that, I believe we are at the end, right?
Yeah. I guess the only thing I want to say is don't take the amount of time that we spent
about that one thing
as indicative of how much it is in this chapter. It's really not. It just sort of smacks you in the face with it.
Yeah, a little bit.
But yeah, overall, it's really good. So definitely not something to pass up.
Yeah, no. Dandadan, buy stock. Go read it. Go watch it. I don't like, even from the trailers and knowing the manga, like that anime is going to be a stunner, and I'm very excited for it. So with that, Brad, hit me with them plugs.
Well, as always, we want to thank Sugoi Mart for partnering with us. Sugoi Mart has Japanese snacks, drinks, toys, and merch that you can't get outside of Japan. Our listeners can check the link in the description or use code APR15 at checkout to get 15% off their first order. We want to know what you think, so hit us up on social media, which you can find links for on our website, animepodcasterreincarnation.com. You can leave comments on the episode posts up there, as well as find other posts and reviews. And of course, you can always come chat with us on our Discord, where we have lots of fun conversations. You can also check out our Patreon. Our supporters get perks like getting to vote on which series we cover on heroin addiction, bonus episodes, and you can get the high-quality stereo version of the podcast early, which is more important right now than normal because of the new Shonen Jump drops that are coming. So you can get those Shonen Jumping the Gun episodes like a day after the new chapter comes out, which is that's pretty...
We are also simul-dropping now.
Close to. And of course, we got to shout out our patrons. At our Reincarnator tier, we've got Moon and Cake Dwarf. At our Merchant tier, we've got Kill Hour. And last but not least, at our Commoner tier, we've got Rena. So thank you so much to all our patrons.
Thank you, Brad. Thank you once again for everybody listening. Make sure you listen to the other shows on our feed. We've got a new one coming up at the end of the month, so that's exciting. And Brad, let's all go to the movies. Let's all go to the movies. Let's all go to the movies and watch some Dandadan. Yeah! The schlong gobbler. I'm not going to do that. What's the full line? I wrote it down. I like literally quote. This is one of the longest summaries that I've ever written. It's like 2.5 pages.
Well, it's a whole movie, so.
Well, it's 3 episodes. I don't know if I don't think this will be 3 episodes in the anime, but there's just a lot to capture. Yeah, Turbo Granny. Where is it? I'll let you suckle my teats if you let me gobble your schlong. There's like a lot of real good lines in here that I could pull something from, but
I'm going to put on my cup.
What?
I'm going to put on my jock strap.
Oh. Protect your schlong. It's funny that
my banana organ.
She says schlong because maybe it's only a little later then, but he ends up losing his balls. They form as 2 golden balls they have to find then.
That's why he had no reaction when she's standing there in her underwear.
Yeah, I mean, also he's half cursed, but yeah, he has no. His dick has been taken from him.